And welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Victory Lap. I'm joined by my host, Brian Mishler. Brian, via the computer, how we doing today?
Doing pretty great today. It's going to be basically a strict Cubs show today. We got a hot topic on the line with the Cubs possibly firing Joe Maddon, so I'm pretty sensitive on this topic. So let's let it loose. Let's do it.
So Brian, he's on the end of he thinks Joe Maddon should get fired. Which, in his defense, he doesn't think it's anything necessarily Joe Maddon did wrong. He thinks it's just a chain of scenery thing. Brian, you want to kind of get into why exactly? What's more of your take on why Joe Maddon should be fired?
So, yes, you summed it up pretty perfectly. Honestly, 2 weeks ago, I would have just honestly laughed at you if you brought that up. But last week, I was listening to Theo Epstein's interview on 670 The Score, and he always is like pretty positive, and I've never ever heard him that negative and disgruntled. He said the words change of scenery, change of environment at least 10 times. Like, he'll never outwardly say like Madden's doing a bad job, but like I thought it was pretty obvious that big changes are ahead. And I don't know if they're likely to fire Maddon in the next week or so. I would still be shocked if it happens. They're probably more likely to make a big lineup trade, but yeah. I would think it's a good risk to take right now firing Joe Maddon, because right now the way they're playing, the last 51 games they're 22-29. I mean, that's below average baseball they're playing. So unless they figure it out, they are a quick out in the postseason. Like, I don't even care if they win the NL Central.
Right. So
lose to Braves or the Dodgers.
So for me, I don't think they should. I get what you're saying because, before the show we were talking about how, in a few years all these guys are up on contract, so this is like kind of their push, and like the next every year that they don't do something, it's a year that it's wasted basically. Yeah. But for me, I think it's so hard to fire a manager mid-season. Now, a big thing for you is you would bring in Joe Girardi. So
that's the reason why you do it. If he wasn't on the market, you don't do it. But like he's a good manager.
So my question to you is if Joe Girardi, let's say, one, they don't offer him it, or two, he's like, no, would you still do it? Because knowing you're going to fire him, you're probably in contact with Joe Girardi, right?
100%. I bet they've already with Girardi.
Right, exactly. So, and so a lot of what you think too is like they don't run out baseballs, all that kind of stuff. Which Girardi's like a hard ass on that stuff.
Yeah,
so it's like it's a complete opposite of what Maddon is like, because Madden's kind of like a player's coach. Everyone knows that.
He sides with them too much, and honestly, I kind of get annoyed hearing him talk. He always tries to be the smartest guy in the room. Yeah. And if I'm sick of it, how do you think the players feel? I mean, I get the players probably like him, but I think his coaching style or managing style was perfect in 2015 and 2016 because you had a lot of young players.
Well, it gave them confidence when they really needed it.
But right now, after multiple players have had a couple all-star appearances,
they don't need anymore.
They've gotten complacent, and it's been evident the past year. They crumbled down the stretch last year, and the last 51 games, they just play with no passion or fire. They need a hard ass in the locker room. It used to be Jake Arrieta and David Ross, but they no longer have those guys in the locker room.
See,
Jake was probably the biggest loss because he was a hard ass. He would outwardly call people out for just appearing uninterested in games.
See, I think that's one of the bigger lines that, like, kind of gets overlooked is like a lot of times you had like you said, David Ross kind of held the locker room together. So
yeah,
I like Maddon could coach his style, still knowing that everyone kind of fell back on David Ross. I agree. It kind of gives it loosely. I still personally wouldn't fire Joe Maddon. I think it's hard in the middle of the season for a team to almost. What's the word I'm looking for? Almost, adapt to something new. Maybe it could work well. It could work well. But personally, me, I wouldn't. I understand why you would. I do agree with the thing of like, Yeah, he won me a championship, but sports are so different now. Just because you won a championship 3 years ago doesn't mean shit right now.
I agree. Like, dude, that type of mindset is why the Cubs went 108 years without winning one. Like, oh, we won one 3 years ago. We're good, right? Just
right.
Fight it out. Who cares? Like, it's not even close to relevant right now. I don't give a shit that they won it in 2016. Awesome. That was one of my best sports memories. But right now, it's not relevant, and it's not indicative into how the rest of the season is going to play out. I mean, they got to do something now. They have this year, 2020, and 2021. Not only is their entire core, their entire core up for free agency in 2021, Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer, their contracts run out in 2021. So they could lose most of their core and their front office, who has been so pivotal in them being good. So, like, they got to win another one this year and the next 2 years after. And if they don't, that's failed. Like, Theo Epstein didn't come on board to win one title in that long. Like, he wanted to win at least two.
Right. And I hate the whole, this is just in sports in general. It's like people are being too greedy. Yeah, that's fucking sports right now.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be greedy. You want me to be complacent with one championship? No. We have fucking like 6 All-Stars.
Yeah. They have 3 All-Stars. Probably should have been a 4th with Anthony Rizzo, although there's a lot of good first basemen in the NL, so that's why.
And you could argue Cole Hamels.
Yeah, Cole Hamels, who I thought should have been an All-Star. He had like a 2.29 ERA in the first half. I couldn't believe he wasn't, but that's a lot of good players, and a lot of these guys are in their prime. They're like 25 to 28 years old. Honestly, even younger than that. So, like, the teams that regressed since 2016 with arguably the same roster. Those are the facts. I don't care if they won in 2016. Something needs to be done internally to shake it up and figure it out. It's not that Joe Maddon is a bad manager. He'll go down as one of the greatest managers in Cubs history. It's that, like you were saying at the beginning of the show, sometimes you need to change the scenery. Yeah. And I understand the argument that doing it in the middle of the year is tough, and yes, it is. But I guarantee you, Joe Maddon's contract ends after this year. If they do not get to the World Series, I don't think they have to win it, but if they do not get to the World Series, there is no way they retain him.
I would say if they lost a very, very, very hard-fought, like, last game series against the Dodgers, then he might too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they go and they lose
by the Dodgers, he's done.
Yeah, for sure. Or if they lose, like, let's say they played like the Braves or someone like that. They
lose before that.
Yeah, for sure. So we ran the poll, should the Cubs fire Joe Maddon? We had 55 votes. 64% said no, 36% said yes. I would love to see who was actually Cubs fans in this vote and who was who. Because a lot of people on the outside who aren't Cubs fans says stop being greedy. But it's the same fans who... I mean, look at Dodgers fans. They've been to the World Series like 3 times, and they want Dave Roberts out of there so fastly.
Yeah.
Like, they could, if they gave a vote, like, would you fire Dave Roberts, I guarantee 80% of Dodgers fans would say yes.
If they don't win it this year, I think he might actually be
Exactly.
gone.
And they could lose in the World Series again, and he would get fired.
Yeah.
It's just agree. Like, I mean, the Cavaliers, David Blatt had his two of his 3 best players get injured. He loses in 6 games in the NBA Finals and gets fired.
Yeah, I mean, you got to win championships. At the end of the day, that's all that people matter, and all that people care about. It's a
different world now that we live in sports. There was a time where winning a championship in 10 years was cool, but now everyone is so greedy, and I love being greedy. Everyone loves being greedy, and everyone wants to win now. So this kind of goes into another topic that we're going to bring up.
Hold up, I want to a little bit more. I'm going to pull up some stats. I forgot to mention these.
All right.
To prove that the Cubs play flat, they are second in the NL in errors, defensive errors. And if you look at their individual defensive capabilities, that makes no goddamn sense. Besides Schwarber and Robel Garcia now at second base, all of those players in the infield and outfield are great defenders. So that just proves they're sleepwalking through games. And also, they have the most outs on the entire base pass in the entire MLB in the base pass. That means they're not focused. Like they're just sleepwalking through games, and it pisses me off. Like one game they had like full bases, no outs, and did like a safety squeeze and got a double play. And I'm just like almost throwing the goddamn TV or the remote through the TV. I was like, it's bad. And those are how you lose close games, right there.
The whole dressing up to go on road trips can fuck right off right now because it's not helping them out. But
yeah, it's so much different from 2016.
So that's the question I was going to ask then. So for me, like, yes, Joe Madden, because he doesn't hold anyone accountable. That's been evident. But also at some point, players have to be held accountable. So I wouldn't be shocked either if they made some trades.
Yeah, I agree. I would say, I mean, you don't trade Chris Bryant.
Right.
For some reason, people say he's having a phenomenal year. He's tied 8th in the MLB in wins above replacement. Yes, his clutch numbers are down, but he's having the exact same season statistically as his 2016 MVP season. So people who say that can go fuck right off. They're obviously not going to trade Anthony Rizzo. Contreras is undealable. They're not going to trade Baez.
Right.
Bodie maybe. I could see Bodie maybe.
Because he's a good trade asset. Like, they could get some pieces for him.
But the thing is, they lack depth.
Yeah, very true, very true.
I don't know if you can trade your depth to get more, like, depth. That doesn't make any sense. The only player in the starting lineup I could see them trading is Schwarber.
Yeah.
Not a good outfielder, and he's been the everyday left fielder for a very long time, and he's proven to be like a barely above average hitter, which is very disappointing. I mean, he's still young. He can turn it around, but he's the guy I think they trade if they're going to trade a starter. It's not going to be Hayward, obviously.
I think they wanted to trade Russell, but
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they do. Because
I don't know. I mean, he's too busy beating people, so they're like, we don't know how. I mean, that definitely dropped his trade value a lot. Like,
and that's why they get rid of him, because if you traded him, they wouldn't have gotten a warm bucket of piss for him. So
right, exactly. But
people think he's like his development is over. The dude's 25 years old. Like, he's still young. Wilson Contreras is 28. Like, there's still a lot of development to be had. It's tough. I don't know. And they don't have that great of a farm system either.
Well, they got rid of a lot of the guys that they had.
They still have Nico Horner, Robel Garcia, Ian Happ. But yeah, I don't think any of those guys are. I mean, they're by no means top prospects. So honestly, it's tough to see who they would trade and get good value in return.
So to Joe Madden changing up the lineup kind of deal thing, I'm all for moving Wilson Contreras. I'm not even a Cubs fan, but I think anytime you got a player like Wilson Contreras that's catching, you always got to move him to the outfield because, catching's just so tough for players, and players that are that good, you want on the field all the time. And it's not like, and the Cubs have Caratini as a backup, and he's pretty good.
He's their best bench bat by far. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Statistically, he's the 5th best bat in the lineup. Like, he's pretty damn good. And he's only playing like 1 out of every 3 days right now.
And he could easily play every day.
Yeah, he should be playing I guess as much as
as much as he could. But you move Hayward to center, and you put Contreras in right. Almora couldn't hit a bag of dicks if he tried, so I mean he's worthless.
He has like single-handedly kind of fucked their depth.
Yeah.
Him and Happ not developing. Those two guys is just bad.
Yeah.
Robel Garcia has helped, but he's only been brought up for the past like week and a half. Like, once our teams get information on him, like, he's obviously going to start to struggle. That's just what always happens with young prospects who come up. And on top of Contreras, I mean, obviously he has a cannon, but he is one of the worst like framers in all of baseball.
Right.
Believe it or not, that's an actual stat, and he's very bad at it.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, how dumb these umps are. Framing is actually like a thing.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
It's a value add. If you're the best framer in baseball, that is very valuable.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I'm with you. I think I think you move Contreras to outfield. I
wish power.
Yeah, I wish we did too. That'd be awesome. Running the damn any baseball team would be sweet. So then I guess another subject we can hit on is, do you think Hayward is the Cubs' most valuable player?
I think there's definitely an argument to be made. What makes him so valuable is the fact that how bad Albert Almora is. Like,
Yeah.
because if Almora could play every single day in center field, then Hayward's value probably isn't as good. But Hayward can play center field and right field on command. All you got to do is tell him. And he's an elite right fielder, and his defensive value has gone way down this year because he's not even close to as good of a center fielder. That's why his wins above replacement isn't as high. And he's also having his best hitting season since his rookie year. So, I mean, there's an argument to be made he's the most valuable player. He's not the best player.
Right.
There's a difference.
So, I still think Bryant is, because I feel like anytime Bryant hits well, the Cubs score like 10 to 12 runs, and it's like an insane game. But
I agree.
What I was going to say is, so is Ben Zobrist just done?
So, also in Theo's interview last week, he says, I was surprised by this, he expects Zobrist to be back on the roster like later in the year. But we're starting to get at crunch time now, because
and it's like, if you don't play now, what?
Yeah, if he's gonna have to have a couple rehab stints in the minor leagues, he's got to do it soon.
Because baseball's not something that you can. I mean, any professional sport, you can't just stop playing completely and just pick it up and be like, yeah, okay, let's go.
It's huge if he's been working out on his own.
Right.
That would be a monumental development. But if he's in a custody battle with his kids, I doubt that's happening. So it needs to happen real soon.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would say Zobrist coming back would be big. I still have faith in Ian Happ. Over his last 25 plate appearances, he's had a .640 on base percentage. That is absurd. So maybe he could get some value there. But other than that, I think that covers what we're trying to do with the Cubs. Now, let's move on to our divisional predictions. How we see the rest of the season, the second half of the season plays out. So let's start with the AL.
Yep.
What are you looking? What are you thinking there?
So AL East, I think the Yankees stay in front and they win the AL East. AL Central, I think the Twins stay in front and they win it. And the AL West, I think Houston stays in front and they win it. So the three teams leading right now, I think, win it. My two wild card spots, I think the Indians grab one, and I think the Red Sox move up and grab the other one. I just don't. The Red Sox, I mean, they're 49 and 41. It's not like they're bad by any means. They had such a bad start, plus 58 run differential. So I mean, what's up?
They had the classic World Series hangover.
Yes, and they're only 2 games out of the second wild card spot. So I don't think Tampa Bay keeps it up. I definitely think the Indians and Red Sox take the wild card spots. Who do you got in the AL?
Yeah, I think the Yankees run away with that. The Twins, I mean, the Indians are catching up on them, but I really like the Twins. They got a lot of young talent, and their run differential is absurd.
Lead the league, I think.
Your run differential matters, and it's so much better than the Indians. And obviously, I think the Astros are going to win the West. The two wild cards, though, I think Tampa Bay, they've already been faltering. I think they're going to falter some more. I think the Red Sox are going to end up above them in the AL East. They're going to snag a wild card spot. And then the second spot, it's really tough between the Indians and the A's. Although solely based on the A's track record, I'm gonna give the nod to them because they always perform well in the regular season.
Right.
And they most of the time fizzle out in the postseason. But I think they're gonna snag that second wild card spot. But it's gonna be close.
Okay. Now for the NL, who do you have?
So I don't buy the Braves as being an NL or a World Series contender. I think they've got a lot of youth, and I don't know. I just don't buy them. The Dodgers are obviously, they're very good. They're going to win the NL West easily. I think the Cubs aren't necessarily going to run away with the NL Central, but I think they're going to win by anywhere from 4 to 6 games. I think the run differential shows they're considerably better than anyone in the NL Central, and I think they'll start to play with more fire, hopefully. If they don't, I'm going to start getting real mad, but I think they will. I think they'll kind of pull away. I do like the Braves to win the NL East, the Cubs to win the Central, the Dodgers to win the West. I mean, the wild card race is crazy how many teams are still in contention.
I mean, even the Reds and the Giants are, not that far out.
No, the Reds, it's insane. The NL Central, the Reds are 5th place. They're 4.5 games back. That's closer than any other division second place.
And they have a plus 27 run differential.
Yeah, the Pythagorean projector thing or whatever predicted them to finish second in the NL Central, which I thought was kind of funny.
So,
but as far as
who do you have in the wild card?
Yeah, my wild cards. I think the Brewers are going to falter. I mean, the run differential is minus 17. That sucks. I think it's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. I think Matt Carpenter is going to end up turning around. Paul Goldschmidt's going to figure it out a little bit. I think they grab the first wild card spot. And the second one's really tough. I mean, the Nationals, Phillies, and D-backs. Just based off of the division, the NL East isn't as good. I think it's going to be the Phillies at the second wild card spot.
Okay. I didn't even realize the Phillies are actually right there, but the Nationals do have like the best record since like June 7th. They've been playing really good baseball.
I have no idea how that's happening.
Yeah. So for the AL East, I got the Braves too. The Central, I actually have the Brewers winning. The AL West, I mean, that's a no-brainer. The Dodgers, I mean, they're 13.5, so they'd really have to tank to not win it. My two wild card spots, I have the Cubs as the first wild card, and then I think the Nationals are going to get the second wild card.
Yeah, I mean, picking the wild card in the NL right now is basically just like throwing a dartboard.
Well, there's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that have like a legit shot to win the second.
I think 9, because you could even say the Rockies.
Yeah, 9. Yeah, there's 9 teams that have a legit shot at like getting that wild card spot, which is like insane to think about. In the second half, there's going to be a lot of close baseball games. I mean, yeah, the Reds are 4.5 games back, and other than that, there's only 3 teams that really have no shot. I mean, the Giants are only 5.5 back, so it's not like crazy.
No,
I don't know how, because I feel like every time I watch them,
the cutoff, yeah.
But every time I watch them, I feel like they're terrible. I mean, as bad as the Mets have been, and they have like 21 blown saves, they're only 7 games out of the wild card. That's insane to think about.
Yeah, and I don't think the Mets are that bad.
I mean, imagine cutting those saves in half, and they only have like 11 blown saves. They're literally leading the wild card.
Yeah, it's absurd. I mean, the AL has. I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that absolutely suck. And the Mariners aren't that good.
I'd say the AL has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams legit in the wild card race. The cutoff, I would say, would be about the Angels. I mean, they're only 6.5 back, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I think some of these, everybody talks about the AL being way better than NL, but I think some of these divisions that have shitty teams, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, the Tigers, and the Royals, I think that inflates some of these like Yankees, Twins records because you get so many games against dog shit teams.
Well, it's top heavy for sure, but they have the 4 worst records in baseball, all in the AL.
That's what I'm saying. Like the NL, I mean the AL is probably a little bit better in terms of teams that can win the World Series, but I do think the NL has more teams that are very good than people give them credit for. I mean, there's just no bad teams in the AL. Like, the AL and NL are completely different leagues right now.
So the Marlins are terrible, but you throw the Marlins out, and really, I mean, at 40 and 50, the
Mets aren't bad.
That's not really terrible. If you put them in the AL, they'd only be like 8 games out of the wild card.
Yeah, the NL has the Marlins, who are basically tanking, but that's it. I mean, everybody else is like right within striking distance.
Right. But those are our predictions. That about wraps up our show. Quick show.
I got to say one more thing. Yeah. I think the Cubs end up winning the NL Central with 87 wins. Okay. Very low, but that's just how good the NL Central is. Right?
Well, I mean, everyone's kind of right around 500, so 87 wouldn't be that out of the ordinary. Okay. Any other last thoughts from you?
I don't think so, but if the Cubs end up firing Joe Maddon, you heard it here first. So.
Victory Roulette Media. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Give us a like, give us a retweet, give us a subscribe. Everyone give a listen. And have a weekend, folks.